You can't hide behind a fake smile. Budgets and quotes and employees and bills to pay and yada yada, all that list of stuff, you're gonna start to have diarrhea. But I gotta do the same shit again tomorrow if I got my drugs wrong.
Check one, check.
Beautiful day. It's about 4 o'clock here. The sun's just coming around enough that I can actually shoot this. Sorry, a little winded from climbing up here. I want to talk about chemistry today and how important that is from an autonomic nervous system point of view. But it's a biological point of view. And it's quite in depth. Full disclosure, I'm not a doctor, but I'm also, not retarded. We do have chemicals innately that happen to us every day, whether we know it or not. I'm just very aware of it. And I want to talk about why being outside in nature, why it is so good for you. It's not just, the vitamin D, it's just the peace and the serenity of it, and how that affects your biology. Being outside, you might be able to hear in the very distant a highway. It's probably 3 kilometers away from here. And it seems quite noisy right now, but your environment has everything to do with your biology, your biological chemistry as well. From a human perspective, just to try to, not dumb it down, but try to make this a little more cohesive for people that can absorb this. As I said, chemistry is biological, and we say things in normal everyday life like, oh, those two people have good chemistry, or we didn't click, or yeah, just something was off. And when we use the term chemistry in that sentence, that they didn't have good chemistry, it's about your energy that you're exuding from your personal space. We all have an energetic field around us. It goes about 3 to 6 feet type thing, magnetic energy. And so when something feels off, that's what you're sensing. So your fight or flight autonomic nervous system will kick in, and your guard will go up because something feels off, because the person or the room that you're in is giving off bad energy. So we mislabel that in the sense of you might have everything in common with that person, but you didn't understand it, or you didn't understand the bad energy that was coming off of that person in that moment. It's just in that moment. Maybe there's something in the room that made the person feel off. They had a bad day, or yada yada. The list goes on forever. So why this is important for this dialogue is because you might have had something good in common with that person, but because, like I said, they had a bad day, they're emitting bad energy, and your energy field that you have is picking that up. It's information. It's called frequency. And we dial into that, and our autonomic nervous system is completely dialed into that. So let's say you're the person that came into the room that was giving off the bad energy. That person's autonomic nervous system, in their own biology, there's something that's stewing with them in their guts, in their biology. And they're not meaning to, the fake smiles you can see in a room, they're fake. They're fake because your body doesn't lie. Your biology will not allow it to lie to you. So they do have turmoil going on, and that comes from the autonomic nervous system. And your sympathetic nerve that runs through your spine, and your parasympathetic, you may have heard that term before, is the balance point to the sympathetic side. So if you are always in the sympathetic side, I'll get into this deeper in other episodes, but I just want to try to lay it down in a layman's term here. You need that balance, parasympathetic and sympathetic, for you to be healthy. Has to do with your gut health and all that stuff. Everything's tied together. So if you're living in fight or flight, you're releasing a ton of cortisol, a ton of it. And like I said, I'll get into the actual chemical components of it coming up in later videos. But the fight or flight thrives in that environment. And when your autonomic nervous system is living in that state, you can't hide behind a fake smile. Your magnetic field is going to pick up on that, and that's the information that's going to come out to the room. And I'm pretty sure you all know what I'm talking about when I say that. So let's go to the other side of the coin. When you are balanced and your gut health is good, you have no turmoil inside, because you've balanced yourself. So how do you balance yourself? Well, first you got to be aware of that chemical reaction that's happening it's happening in your body. I say that a lot when I do my videos. Happening. Kind of funny. But you want the good drugs to release, and that happens from heart and brain coherence. And your internal pharmacy has all the same drugs that you find in a pill, but they're better because they know exactly what dosage you need in that situation. You can overdose on the situation of being in a toxic environment. Well, what's going to happen there? Your body's going to release chemicals that are going to initiate the fight or flight response. It's that simple. And when you do that, you know what? You're going to start to have diarrhea. Your guts are going to spin around inside out. You're going to be super paranoid, and you just won't be able to relax. When you are in a good environment and things are balanced and safe, your autonomic nervous system, your pharmacist that's there, will say things are safe. There's nothing to worry about here. When it is safe, you're going to release the love drug, which is oxytocin, and that's the main drug that the heart thrives in. So if you think about that one element for a second, heart and brain coherence is totally tied to this. So if your heart is functioning well, which means it's not in fight or flight, it needs the oxytocin. And you thrive in that environment and things are safe. So you kind of want to be in that environment as much as you can be. And if there's something in the room or in your environment that is turning the switch the other way, guess what that's going to do? It's going to produce that drug, that cocktail. And you will become a nervous wreck over time. You know, when you want to put this into your everyday life, and you got to, let's say you work a high stress job, and you're in that high stress environment all the time because you got budgets and quotes and employees and bills to pay and yada yada, all that list of stuff. Your body's producing the chemical that supports that. And you might get away for lunch or a coffee break or something like that, but the switch doesn't turn off because you're out on your coffee break. All you're doing is replaying all the shit that you got to get done that day from that stress. So you're not really unplugging. So you need to find a way to balance that. And this is a great way to do that, obviously. But being aware of it is your first clue of repair, or your first sign. You just need to be aware of it, because once you're aware of it, you can trigger certain chemicals innately. And I can teach you how to do that. It's not as hard as it might sound. But the first part of that trigger is your awareness. So when you find yourself in that high stress situation, you gotta find a way to diffuse it. And you might have to walk away for a little bit, go listen to some music or something like that. There's an easier way to do that, and I'll get into that later on as we go. But this channel is built on all this umbrella of good things for you, for me for sure, but really good things for you too. And it just needs to be talked about more. They don't teach us this in education. They don't teach us this in any job you'll ever have. And if you in a high stress job and you go to the doctor because you're not sleeping and you're just at wit's end all the time, they're gonna prescribe you a drug to counterbalance your anxiety. And guess what? It's called anti-anxiety. Well, I got aunties and uncles too, and none of them live in a pill bottle, I can tell you that for free. But so I just thought I would just pop in here real quick and kind of explain to you where this is going to go. And do yourself a favor and, set that notification bell or whatever you got to do to learn about your drugstore that you were born with. And it will open your eyeballs. It 100% will open your eyeballs. I do have a bunch of scripts written out to talk about chemistry. All of this is backed scientifically, and there's no pseudoscience to any of it, not one aspect of it. But there's just it's such a vast topic to cover, and nobody covers it. I haven't found any videos that actually cover this, so I thought it was important to attempt to cover it at least. And you're going to learn a lot from it. I know I learned a ton from this, and when I actually paid attention from my readings that I've done on this very thing, on the chemistry side of it, I was blown away. Like, how come nobody's ever told us this? Like, why is it suppressed as a society, maybe? Or why isn't this part of our health plan in school, in the education system? That your innate pharmacy is way better than any pharmacy that in a brick and mortar. Way better for you. And you've always heard the term, you got to get out and get some sun, right? You got to take the hoodie down, the hood. Like, it drives me nuts. Get some sun on, get some vitamin D on your face. Get it on your body. Get in the dirt and work with your hands. Because there's chemistry there too, in the dirt. Believe it or not, there is. Every living organism runs on the same chemistry. Every biological plant that we have comes from the earth. So there's something to be learned there as well. Like I said, because I've got this stuff scripted and I don't want to miss anything. So when it comes to the chemistry side, I'd like to try to talk about it just off the hip out in the environment here. I mean, it's way better than being stuck in a dark studio, obviously. But probably it's going to be tabled via teleprompter in the studio, because there's too much in it that I don't want to miss. And so I'm not a pharmacist or a doctor, so I do need to read it telescripting wise or teleprompter wise. And it's all backed resources as well. So, you know, doing this deck and stuff here, the camera sitting on a bridge over like, last year we did a massive transformation in the backyard here, and it was for the yard obviously, but it was transformational for us as well when we built this. Added onto the deck, built a waterfall under here. I know it's not running, you can't see it yet, but it's just beautiful. And we did make a video about it. It's on our channel. I won't put a link to it, but you can search through the channel and find it. And it's a wow factor, because the chemistry that was involved in that creative side of things. When you're creative, you're producing chemistry. If you pump too much cortisol through your system, you're gonna be non-creative. You can't be creative in that environment. So being creative helps the chemistry flow, the good chemistry. And it's the cart before the horse, because if you don't have the good chemistry, it's hard to be creative. So you got to have a balance so you can choose which way to go. And you know, some people are more creative in the morning, some people are more creative at night. I guess I'm betting that if you actually strip that back and looked at it, those times that different people are creative in those different time frames, morning chemistry would probably fall in the early hours of the morning, because they haven't gotten to their job yet, and maybe the kids aren't out of bed yet. Maybe you don't have your to-do list yet, and that's your quiet time. That's what we call it, my time, my quiet time of reflection. So then you're creative, and then as soon as that alarm goes off or you got to go to that job, you're done. You're done being creative for that day, and by the time you get home, you're done. You're just going to bed. On the flip side of it, if you're creative at night, I'm a creative guy at night, you're able to shut your job off, and then you come home, you might have dinner, and then you get into your studio and you be creative with whatever you're being creative with. And I don't want to go to bed, because I know as soon as I go to bed, I got to do the same shit again tomorrow and not be creative again for another, 24 hours type thing. And that produces chemistry as well. So it's just a better understanding how the chemistry works. Anyways, it's getting a little chilly out here, so I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm looking forward to taking you along on that journey with me. So right on. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one. Now to get down from here without breaking my neck.